Put a mirror before an orangutan, and the usual boundary between observer and animal starts to wobble. He studies the face in the glass, then uses the reflection to clean his teeth. He recognizes his own body. Most animals do not. That quiet act introduces a larger story. A great ape whose genetic code differs from ours by about 3.1% uses medicinal plants and builds a fresh sleeping nest every night. We are still trying to understand it while it disappears. Our story begins on Borneo, the planet's third largest island. Tropical forest has persisted there for roughly 130 million years. It is described as one of the oldest tropical forests on Earth. Dinosaurs vanished, mammoths followed, the forest remained. Saber-toothed cats are gone too, yet the forest still carries life high in its canopy, around 30 meters above the ground. There, a great ape meets our gaze with a familiarity we recognize. Its name is orangutan. In Malay, that name means person of the forest. The wording matters. It does not call the animal a beast or merely a monkey.
People who shared these forests with orangutans for millennia recognized something fundamentally different. A mind that thinks, feels, watches, and responds. Modern genetics gives that old insight a number. In the comparison used here, only about 3.1% of the genetic code differs between humans and orangutans. On that measure, the gap is smaller than the difference between African and Asian elephants. The resemblance comes from deep history. Our last common ancestors lived roughly 12 to 14 million years ago. Orangutans stayed in Asia's tropical forests, while our own lineage eventually left Africa. After all that time apart, the comparison in this account still puts our shared genetic material at about 96.9%. Then comes a more intimate test, a mirror. An animal without mirror self-recognition may treat the reflection as a stranger. It may recoil, attack, or lose interest. An orangutan does something else. It uses the image to inspect its own body. The reflection gives it information about itself. He checks his teeth, studies parts of his body, and pulls faces at the glass.
Those actions show that he connects the reflection with himself. Humans, chimpanzees, gorillas, dolphins, elephants, and orangutans are among the animals described as passing this test. For the orangutan, that awareness operates in a world more arboreal than any other great apes. Most of life unfolds between 15 and 40 meters above the ground. He seldom descends. Leopards, crocodiles, and humans make the forest floor dangerous. Everything he needs lies overhead: food, a nest, and roots through the canopy. He crosses them branch by branch, controlled and deliberate, with the economy of a gymnast. That control begins with arms built for suspension. An adult male, little more than 1 meter tall, can span 2 meters from fingertip to fingertip. His arms exceed the length of his body, and every finger closes around wood like a hook. The grip of an orangutan is far stronger than a human grip. With one hand, he can remain suspended from a branch for prolonged periods. His fingers resist fatigue because their anatomy is specialized for prolonged grasping. Even without a tail, wings, or claws, he moves through trees 40 meters tall with the assurance of an expert climber. The next adaptation is underfoot. An orangutan's foot doubles as another gripping hand. The big toe opposes the others, letting the foot clamp around a branch with much the same security as the hand. Each of the 4 limbs can grasp independently. Climbing is the wrong frame for this animal. The trees are where it lives. Adult males differ so sharply from females that the sexes can be difficult to recognize as the same species. Large cheek pads, called flanges, spread from either side of the face and can make it appear twice as wide. They signal status to other males. A dominant flanged male no longer needs to prove himself through every fight. His face already carries the message. Beneath his chin sits a large throat pouch. During the long call, the pouch expands and amplifies the sound. Through dense forest, That call can carry for 2 kilometers and continue for as long as 2 minutes without a break. It is not distress and it is not fear. It is an announcement broadcast through the canopy. The male is here. Females can hear him, and rival males know his position. But male development has another route.
Some males grow large and develop the broad flanges associated with dominance. Others remain unflanged and subdominant for years, sometimes for decades. Without those cheek pads, they resemble large females. They avoid direct confrontations with dominant males and keep out of their way. This is a normal alternative developmental strategy, not a deformity or a failed version of adulthood. Orangutan males can mature along 2 markedly different paths. Those 2 paths share the same feeding equipment. Broad, powerful molars crush hard fruit and tough seeds, including durian seeds that many other animals cannot manage. In males, the canines serve as weapons and visible social signals. Bearing them can establish position without an immediate fight. Yet the same ape also maintains its teeth. Orangutans select particular leaves and use them like a toothbrush. Wild dentistry built from the canopy. That care is part of a wider skill set. Orangutans belong to the small group of animals that regularly use tools in the wild. A narrow stick becomes a probe, reaching into crevices too tight for fingers and drawing out insects or honey.
Leaves become sponges, branches become levers, and rain turns foliage into an umbrella. Then the orangutan goes further. It makes a tool. It chooses a branch with the right thickness and length, removes the extra shoots, and keeps the useful shape. That sequence matters. The branch is prepared for a job. The same planning appears before a storm. Orangutans select leaves of a suitable size, sometimes while the clouds are only beginning to gather, and carry them ready for rain. Researchers have watched an orangutan pick a leaf before the first raindrop. In the source account, that is evidence of anticipating the link between darkening skies and rainfall. Tests also place orangutans near the performance of 4- and 5-year-old children on cause and effect tasks. They can work through several steps in sequence to reach a goal, and they prepare for what comes next. One orangutan chose a tool in the evening for work planned the following morning. The skill begins with watching. At a rehabilitation center in Borneo, a young orangutan spent weeks observing workers wash dishes. He learns the method, not just the movement. Then the lesson left the kitchen. One day he turned up beside a stream with a coconut shell full of water. Dirt stood in for soap. He scrubbed leaves methodically, reproducing the dishwashing routine without instruction. Memory had preserved the procedure and its basic principle. The same practical intelligence appears in sickness. Orangutans deliberately seek out plants outside their usual diet when they are ill or injured. Dracaena cantlei, used locally as an anti-inflammatory, is chewed and then applied to wounds. The behavior is described as knowledge passed from mother to young. At Sepalok Rehabilitation Center, a worker once left a tablet switched on. A young orangutan scrolled through photographs, paused at an image of another orangutan, and looked from the screen to the worker and back again. Then he carried the tablet into a tree. An hour later, it was sitting on a branch with the camera application open, showing photographs of leaves and sky. Every evening, the orangutan starts over. It finds a fork in the branches, bends and weaves the thicker limbs into a platform, then pads the structure with smaller branches and leaves. In 5 to 15 minutes, the result is a stable, springy bed, 15 to 30 meters above the ground. The source describes this as a fresh dwelling, built each night by the orangutan. Usually a new bed every evening. It is construction repeated daily, not a single permanent home hidden in the canopy. Why rebuild instead of returning to yesterday's nest? The answer begins with the trees themselves. Researchers have examined that nightly choice. Orangutans favor particular tree species, especially those associated in the source with fewer ticks, insects, and parasites. Fresh material may reduce exposure to parasites, giving nest building a hygienic benefit. The structure also supports the body. It is springy, ventilated, and able to retain warmth. Weather changes the design. Before rain, the orangutan builds a deeper, enclosed nest and covers it with leaves. In hot conditions, it leaves the platform more open for ventilation. Studies have recorded more than 18 distinct building techniques, shaped by tree species, weather, and available material. Nest building is learned. At around 2 years, a young orangutan begins to practice. The first attempts collapse into awkward platforms, with branches pointing everywhere. The builder may even sink into its own work. Its mother watches and sometimes demonstrates the technique. By 3 or 4, the nest is serviceable. By 6, the young builder is already highly skilled. Then comes a different challenge: the durian. Southeast Asia's king of fruit is, for an orangutan, the ultimate delicacy. It can weigh up to 10 kilograms and carries a shell covered in sharp spines. The smell is so strong that many hotels across Asia ban it. The orangutan opens the fruit with its bare hands, eats the pulp, and cracks seeds too hard for other animals to break. An orangutan can detect a ripening durian by scent before it is ready. It detects the fruit by scent before it is ready. But durian is a prize, not the daily foundation. That role belongs to fig trees. Ficus trees do not fruit on one shared schedule. Different trees produce at different times, so the orangutan must remember which tree is bearing fruit now. Along its route lie between 500 and 1,000 feeding trees. The animal keeps track of many of them. Scientists call that memory a cognitive map of the forest, a working record that combines place with food. It demands memory and spatial thinking. When the dry season strips the root of easy calories, the orangutan switches to bark, young shoots, and leaves. It pulls insects from beneath bark and drinks water collected in hollow trunks. Food becomes harder to find, and the animal enters a period of stress. Calories run short during the dry season. Orangutans lose weight, move less, and conserve energy. They conserve energy until the rains return and fruit becomes more abundant. Honey is rarer and more valuable. The orangutan works at it with a thin stick, reaching into a narrow hollow where the combs are hidden. It moves slowly and carefully, disturbing the bees as little as possible. Observers have noted a difference between populations. Where wild bees are more abundant, orangutans have developed more elaborate ways to extract the honey. A leaf can be folded into a cup. Orangutans use it to collect rainwater or drink straight from wet leaves after a storm. They seldom come down to the ground for water. Scientists have seen an orangutan choose leaves with a waxy surface because they hold water longer. That is tool selection based on material properties. The technique is learned within the group. That is culture. And when adult males come into conflict, sound usually keeps them apart. A dominant male avoids many direct confrontations through his long call. That call carries information about his size, age, and status. Other males recognize the voice and can judge a rival without seeing him. If the comparison tells one male that the other is larger and more experienced, he backs away. No blow is needed. But when the call fails, the dispute turns physical. Fights are uncommon, yet brutal. The males bite, sometimes tearing away fingers or pieces of ears. Most dominant adults carry old battle damage, scars along the arms, twisted fingers, damaged ears. Size alone does not make a male dominant. He has usually survived several serious fights. Beneath him are subdominant males without flanges, living within his home range and trying to avoid him. They keep quiet. They travel without calling and avoid direct meetings. It is dangerous, but it can keep a subdominant male alive until the dominant male dies or loses strength. Only then may his cheek flanges begin to develop, sometimes when he is between 20 and 30 years old. Patience becomes an evolutionary strategy. A dominant male's home range can cover between 10 and 50 square kilometers. He travels through it, learning the trees, the paths, and the water sources.
Other orangutans know those routes and may avoid direct encounters with him. The result is a hierarchy maintained through information as much as force. His long call tells everyone where he is and where he is moving next. An orangutan mother gives birth only once every 7 to 9 years. That is the longest interval between births described for any mammal in the source. Her newborn weighs about 1.5 kilograms and depends on her completely. It clings to her fur and drinks her milk. During the first months, contact is continuous. The infant stays against her day and night. For the first 2 years, and often until around the age of 3, it travels with her, first on her belly and later on her back. From there, it watches everything: how she chooses fruit, how she builds a nest, how she responds to danger and deals with other orangutans. The mother is carrying a lesson at every moment. Her method is simple: demonstrate, then let the infant try. She does not do what the young animal can already do for itself. The infant copies her. If the attempt fails, she shows the action again. Researchers describe this as socially guided learning, with the mother facilitating the infant's practice. Orangutans also laugh. Young animals make a sound during play that matches human laughter in its physical form and social use. It appears during wrestling, tickling, and sudden surprises. The connection reaches deep into our shared ancestry. Whatever our common ancestor inherited, the capacity for laughter was already there. Orangutans show fear, joy, sadness, and curiosity through their faces and actions. A storm can send a frightened infant straight into its mother's arms, where it calms. When a mother loses an infant, her behavior has been documented as consistent with grief. Some females carry the body for several days. That behavior is consistent with grief. Dependence lasts longer in orangutans than in any other non-human primate. Weaning comes between 3 and 5 years, yet the young remain with their mothers until roughly 7 or 8. The lessons continue long after milk does. Independence arrives by degrees. Young orangutans range farther, spend more time alone, then return to their mothers. 8 years beside an experienced mother leaves a young animal with far more knowledge than early separation would allow. When separation finally comes, it happens gradually. Visits grow shorter and less frequent until they stop. Young females may return years later, especially when they have their first infant, seeking their mother's presence or guidance. That long apprenticeship is one reason orangutans reproduce so slowly. Today they survive on just 2 islands, Borneo and Sumatra. 12,000 years ago, they also lived across the Indochina Peninsula and southern China. As human populations expanded through the region, orangutans were pushed back onto the islands. Around 100,000 orangutans remain in Borneo, and about 14,000 in Sumatra. For an animal that produces young so slowly, those numbers are dangerously low. The Bornean and Sumatran orangutans are treated here as distinct species, separated roughly 400,000 years ago. The Sumatran animal is lighter, with a longer beard and a narrower face. The Bornean animal is darker and more heavily built. But the sharpest difference is behavioral. Sumatran orangutans are more sociable, they meet more often, and they communicate. A small stick and a few teeth can reveal where an orangutan comes from. In Sumatra, orangutans feed close together, perhaps because the jungle offers more fruit. More food means less competition and more chances for social contact. Yet local populations do not all solve the same problem in the same way. To pull insects from certain fruits, Sumatran orangutans use a technique involving their teeth and a slender stick. Bornean orangutans complete the same task differently. Young animals learn these methods from their local group. The differences are regional traditions, much like dialects or local cuisine. Orangutan culture is real. Then, in 2017, scientists described a third orangutan species, the Tapanuli orangutan. It survives only in a small mountainous region in northern Sumatra, with a population of approximately 800 individuals.
The Tapanuli orangutan is the rarest of the great apes. Scientists recognized it as a distinct species shortly before its mountain habitat came under threat from a hydroelectric dam. The discovery was almost too late. Orangutans also have a much larger vocal repertoire than a handful of simple cries. Researchers have described more than 32 distinct signals, each linked to a particular situation. A kiss squeak warns of irritation. The long call advertises the male's presence and helps attract females. Feeding has its own sounds. Social contact has its own sounds. Mothers use specific calls with their infants. Put together, these signals form a communication system. Their vocabulary is carried in the hands as well as the voice. An orangutan can point towards something it wants, wave another animal away, or extend an arm to invite contact. Scientists have recorded more than 64 distinct gestures, each with a specific meaning. By that measure, the orangutan's communicative repertoire is comparable in complexity to that of a 2-year-old child.
The most unusual evidence comes from danger that has already passed. In one experiment, researchers exposed an orangutan to a simulated tiger. The animal hid and fell silent. After the threat disappeared, it stayed quiet for several minutes. Only then did it begin to vocalize. The signals referred to what it had seen earlier, not to a danger still present. Communication about the past was once considered an exclusively human ability. Every year, fires move through the forests of Borneo and Sumatra. Many are deliberately set to clear space for oil palm plantations, which produce palm oil. That oil appears in roughly half of packaged supermarket products, from chocolate and potato chips to biscuits, shampoo and toothpaste. Since the 1970s, Borneo has lost a vast area of its primary forest. Orangutans have lost their homes, and the forest world their ancestors occupied for millions of years. Fire leaves them with a brutal choice. They are canopy animals. On the ground, they move slowly and awkwardly. When the trees burn, the roads through the canopy, the food, and the shelter disappear together. Escape means descending and crossing exposed ground. For an orangutan, that journey can be fatal. Once an orangutan reaches the ground, the threats multiply. Leopards, people, and traps. During the major fires of 2015, many orangutans died, while smoke spread across an area visible from space. Satellites recorded the scale. The numbers were clear. A photograph from 2016 showed the cost in one frame. A male orangutan perched in the last tree standing amid a burned wasteland. The forest around him was gone. Photographer Aaron Gakowski took the image for International Animal Rescue. The organization captured that male and moved him to a safe reserve. He survived because help reached him. Most orangutans have no such rescue team nearby, and no camera arrives to record what happens next. An oil palm plantation may look green from above, but it supports far less biodiversity than native forest. The palms dominate. Fruit trees are missing. Hollow trunks are missing. Suitable water sources are scarcer for orangutans. An orangutan cannot live there because the plantation is not its habitat. It is not suitable habitat for the wider forest community either. Large areas of modern Borneo are now covered by palms, broken by small remnants of original forest. Those fragments are where the remaining orangutans persist. Fragmentation creates a deadly gap between them. To reach another patch, an orangutan must cross open ground. There it is exposed to people, predators, and traps. On land, it moves at around 4 kilometers an hour. That pace makes crossings dangerous. Orangutans are easy to catch, and many are trapped or drawn into conflicts with people while moving between forest fragments. Plantation workers may treat them as pests. For a dependent infant, the loss of its mother is often fatal. Without her, it has not learned where to find food, how to build a nest, or how to move through the forest. A very young infant may survive only a few days. Rehabilitation centers become its only chance.
Staff nurse the infant back to health, teach it the basic skills of forest life, and eventually return it to the wild. The training takes time and money because an orangutan's childhood lasts for years. Rehabilitation can take between 7 and 10 years, almost as long as the young animal would have remained with its mother. At the center, the orphan enters a jungle school. It learns to climb, construct nests, recognize edible fruit, and avoid danger. The staff limit contact with people so the young orangutan does not become accustomed to human company. The target is a wild animal, not a tame one. The first independent nest marks a turning point. Center staff describe it as one of the most moving moments in their work. After repeated failures, the young orangutan suddenly produces a stable nest, climbs inside, rocks gently, and looks down at the forest. Something has fallen into place. The nest is no longer an exercise, it is a place to live. Release day comes after years of preparation. The transport crate opens and the orangutan steps into real forest for the first time. No two releases are alike. Released orangutans respond differently. One orangutan bolts from the crate, another edges forward, testing unfamiliar ground. Some retreat once or twice before finally disappearing into the forest. Release is no guarantee. Without a mother, they had to learn too much the hard way, and not all survive. But some survive and breed, which is the whole point. Since 1964, more than 600 orangutans have completed rehabilitation at Sepalok in Borneo. Several hundred more have passed through the International Animal Rescue Center in Borneo. Against losses this large, those releases barely register. Yet each one returns a living orangutan to the place it belongs, and that can be reason enough to continue. For thousands of years, Borneo's indigenous Dayak and Punan peoples shared the forest with orangutans. The orangutan held a special, respected place. Some communities forbade hunting it. Their legends tell of a human who entered the forest and forgot how to speak. That image grew from close observation of a creature deeply similar to us. Now forest destruction drives orangutans into villages and plantations. They eat fruit from garden trees and raid crops, so residents complain. Conflict follows, but its cause matters. Orangutans do not enter villages because they have grown bold. They arrive after their forest has been destroyed, searching for whatever food remains because they have nowhere else to go. A garden raid is not vandalism. It is an orangutan trying to stay alive on the scraps of habitat left behind. Poaching has declined, but it continues. Infants are captured for the pet trade, and taking one means killing its mother. She will not give up her infant alive. So one dead adult often leaves another orphan, assuming the infant survives transport at all. Estimates say only 1 in 6 captured infants reaches the destination alive. The pet trade begins with a killing, then compounds it with an orphan. For an orangutan, the pet trade is tragedy at every stage. In captivity, the damage continues in another form. Orangutans decline when stripped of a complex environment, social contact, and the need to think through problems. They may survive for decades, sometimes reaching 50 or 60 years, but longevity alone is a poor substitute for life in the forest. There is no forest nest, no morning mist carrying a long call, and no complex world that demands thought. Animal protection groups regard keeping an orangutan as a pet as one of the cruelest ways to treat a wild animal. Then, in 2022, a wild orangutan in Sumatra suffered a facial wound and did something scientists had never documented before. It sought out akar kuning, a plant local people use for inflammation and pain. It chewed the leaves into pulp, then pressed that material onto the injury again and again for several minutes. A few weeks later, the wound had closed completely. Researchers described it as the first documented case of a wild animal deliberately treating a wound with a medicinal plant selected for that purpose. The behavior fits a wider pattern. Orangutans eat more than 400 plant species, around 30 of which have scientifically documented medicinal properties. Observations suggest that they consume some of those plants when ill and stop after recovering. The timing makes coincidence a poor explanation. Call it forest pharmacology. The pharmacy surrounds them, and they know where to search. That capacity extends beyond plants. Orangutans also show what scientists call insight, solving a problem in one mental leap rather than by repeated trial and error. They examine the obstacle, work through it, and act. In experiments, they have handled tasks involving levers, buoyancy, and cause and effect, sometimes faster than 5-year-old children. The point is not that orangutans are smarter than children. Their minds process objects and space differently. Time gives that intelligence a long memory. Wild orangutans live between 35 and 45 years. Captive animals can reach 59 or beyond. An experienced dominant male may therefore carry the traditions and knowledge of one territory for 3 or 4 decades. He may retain knowledge of rare conditions encountered decades earlier. That memory includes which tree's fruit only once every 5 years. He becomes the forest's living archive. But the next generation arrives painfully slowly. A female begins breeding at about 15 or 16, then gives birth only once every 7 to 9 years. Across her lifetime, she may produce no more than 4 or 5 offspring. If even 1 or 2 fail to reach breeding age, the population cannot replace its losses. For a local population, losing only a few adult females each year can already be catastrophic. Orangutans cannot rebound quickly. Tracking lives this long requires research on the same families across generations. That work began in 1971 when Birute Galdicus founded Camp Leakey in Borneo. Observations have continued on known individuals and their descendants. Researchers now know many of these orangutans by name and follow the 4th generation of a single family. The project ranks among primatology's longest-running studies, and it is still going. Those decades of observation reveal that orangutans use sound as a tool. A dominant male adds impact to his long call by snapping branches and dropping them to the ground, which amplifies his presence. In rehabilitation centers, some orangutans have also begun drumming on different surfaces spontaneously, without instruction or any model to copy. The rhythm emerges untaught. The same centers report behavior they describe as a sense of humor. Calling it that is based on observation, not casual anthropomorphism. Watch what happens when an orangutan discovers a human audience. It steals objects from the workers, not for food, not for any practical use, but for the chase that follows. In one Indonesian center, an orangutan repeatedly hid their belongings, then returned each item for a piece of fruit. The reward was part of the game. This is what behavioral research captures. Actions chosen to trigger a response, followed by clear interest in that response. But the same animal also experiments with objects. A familiar branch becomes a fishing rod, a leaf becomes a funnel, a stone becomes a hammer. At research centers, orangutans have independently found new uses for things they already know. They are testing possibilities, not simply repeating a trick someone showed them. That kind of inventiveness and the willingness to break from the obvious use of an object demonstrates considerable behavioral flexibility. From the outside, an orangutan can look like a solitary great ape. Up in the canopy, that solitude still has a social map. It recognizes neighboring orangutans by voice, remembers particular individuals for years, and distinguishes familiar acquaintances from strangers. Food changes hands only rarely, but it does happen. Adults even play with infants that are not their own. The connections are fewer and more spread out than ours, not absent. And those treetops are not automatically safe. In Borneo, the clouded leopard is a predator capable of hunting orangutans. It climbs well and can attack from above. An orangutan answers with screams, broken branches, and branches hurled at the cat. A large adult male is too dangerous for the leopard. Infants and young females face the greater risk, which is why a mother keeps her infant with her. But another threat shares the same trees, the reticulated python, the longest snake in the world. An adult reticulated python, measuring 5 to 6 meters, could, in theory, attack a young orangutan. Orangutans answer pythons with a specific alarm call, different from the call they give when a leopard appears. Scientists can identify the threat by the way the call changes. These signals carry different information. Orangutans drink little water from the ground, partly because descending exposes them to predators. Instead, they collect it from hollow trunks and leaves. When they must descend, they watch from the tree for a long time, then move quickly and cautiously. They weigh the need for water against the chance of danger. That is risk assessment in action. Forest corridors offer one of the main ways to protect orangutans. These strips of forest connect isolated woodland areas, allowing orangutans to cross between jungle sections without crossing open ground, where the journey could be fatal. Once a corridor links those forest fragments, orangutans can travel without descending into open ground. Conservation groups and authorities in Borneo have built several such routes. Monitoring data show that orangutans use them. They find the way. The forest bridge works. Tropical forest returns slowly, but it returns. On abandoned plantations where herbicide use stopped, trees begin to reappear within 15 to 20 years. Then orangutans follow. Forest wildlife can return as vegetation recovers. That is exactly what makes conservation difficult. Human society still needs palm oil, timber, and land. The link between what we consume and the orangutan's future is direct. Palm oil appears in roughly half of packaged supermarket products. Yet manufacturers do not all use certified sustainable palm oil, produced without destroying primary forests. A shopper who reads the label and chooses a certified product can push the market. The market pushes producers. Producers influence the condition of the forest. The orangutan knows nothing about that chain, but its survival depends on it. Every orangutan surviving in the wild is a small win against the statistics of destruction. Every rehabilitated orangutan returned to the forest represents years of work by dozens of people. Every hectare of protected forest preserves part of the space orangutans need. This is concrete. Specific animals, specific trees, specific choices. Birute Galdikas reached Borneo in 1971, invited by anthropologist Louis Leakey. He had also sent Jane Goodall to chimpanzees and Diane Fossey to gorillas. Galdikas came to study orangutans and expected to stay only a few years. She is still in Borneo today. That is more than 50 years of continuous observation. She has known hundreds of orangutans personally. She mourns them and fights for them. In the best zoos, orangutans receive complex surroundings: ropes, platforms, food puzzles, and materials for building nests. Research shows that cognitive enrichment supports their mental health. The ropes, platforms, puzzles, and nest materials provide intellectual challenges. Without intellectual challenges, an orangutan deteriorates. With intellectual challenges, an orangutan can thrive. A photograph has traveled around the world. A boy of about 6 sitting beside a young orangutan on a riverbank. Both face the water. Their postures match, their proportions are similar, and their curiosity points in the same direction. The image matters for a reason beyond biology. It points to a shared urge to understand the world, the same curiosity that connects us. At 5:30 in the morning, first light reaches the jungle. An orangutan wakes in its nest and stretches after sleep, exactly as a human does. It checks the sky for rain and sniffs the air for anything interesting nearby. The day begins with questions. What is close and what comes next? Only then does it begin the slow journey through the canopy. The orangutan faces 12 to 14 hours of feeding, travel, and observation. By dusk, it must build another nest. At midday, when tropical heat peaks, it rests along a branch, sometimes on its back, sometimes with its limbs hanging on either side. It watches the canopy and may doze. The long day is divided between searching, moving, watching, and conserving energy. That pause has a physical reason. In tropical heat, movement costs a great deal of energy. At midday, the orangutan goes still, saving energy until the heat begins to ease. By afternoon, the work starts again, finding food, adding to the nest, moving on. Travel through dense forest depends on a steady stream of clues. A neighboring male sends out a long call. The listener picks up its direction and distance, and may even recognize the caller. That information can change the route ahead, helping it avoid another male's territory. In a forest where sight is limited, sound becomes part of the map. The long call carries more than the caller's presence. It provides a navigational signal, a kind of jungle positioning system that needs no satellites. Finding a fruiting tree in this forest draws on years of stored knowledge. The orangutan remembers individual trees scattered across tens of square kilometers, along with the seasons when each one bears fruit. Routes are planned around that living calendar. Memory is the animal's main asset, and it gives a clear advantage over creatures that forage without such a map. Yet memory can be studied only from the outside. Even what it sees from that height remains uncertain. Scientists can observe behavior and examine the brain and genes. They still cannot know what passes through an orangutan's mind as it watches the forest at dusk. Evidence tells us that it feels, and that it can think to some degree. The private experience behind those abilities remains beyond our reach. That distance matters. An orangutan is neither a lesser human nor a mirror made for us. It has an inner life of its own. For the species, survival comes down to continuation. Every infant born and every young orangutan that lives long enough to reproduce helps sustain the remaining population. That resistance is measured against a brutal decline. Around 115,000 orangutans remain. 50 years ago, the estimate was roughly 315,000. Hundreds of organizations and thousands of people have helped slow the losses. Slow is the crucial word. The decline continues. This is no elegy for an animal in a biology textbook. Right now in Borneo, an orangutan is weaving a nest in a tree. Another hears a male's long call and alters course. A mother teaches her infant how to find fruit. Each carries a memory of what came before, with no way to foresee what follows. We do have that foresight. That makes the future our responsibility. The orangutan's future depends on human choices. Only 3.1% of the genetic code separates humans and orangutans. In time, the divide reaches 14 million years. Across it, our paths have become radically different. Humans reshaped the planet, sent travelers into space, fill books and raise cities. The orangutan remains in the forest, making a fresh nest each night. It teaches its young, keeps a map of fruit trees in memory, and treats wounds with leaves. Then it studies us with the same close attention we give it. Keep the forest standing, and the man of the forest still has a home. The orangutan, the man of the forest, was here before us. It endured ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and the arrival of human beings in Southeast Asia. Its strength is no longer the question. The question is whether our judgment is good enough to let it endure. The irony is clear. Wisdom is exactly what the orangutan's future now demands from us. The animal watches calmly, its gaze attentive and assessing. We cannot claim full access to what it understands. Still, that gaze turns the problem back on us. There is no simple answer to it. There are, however, concrete things we can do. Those actions reach into ordinary life. Check what you put in the shopping basket. Back groups that defend the forest. Learn what is happening, then pass that knowledge on. None of this requires the orangutan to understand what is happening. It cannot ask us for help or know that help is needed. We know. That is enough to make the responsibility ours.